Two men, an old one and a young one, were wandering along the cemetery fence. "Yeah, Uncle Sergey, I didn't think it would be so hard to dig graves. Digging out a cellar with my father was easier." "Ivan, it's a cellar, and here there are dead people all around. They suck energy." "Do you believe in such things? I thought you were not religious." "What's the difference? Energy and faith are not the same. Once you work for 6 months, you'll understand." "No way," the young guy answered. "I'm looking for a job in my specialty. I'll dig for a few weeks, but once I get a job as a lawyer, I won't come back." But Ivan was wrong. It was not easy to find a job as an inexperienced college graduate. He tried to go to different interviews, but they all wanted an employee with extensive experience. Where could you get it if nobody hired you? It was a real mystery. Ivan became depressed and no longer considered his part-time job at the cemetery to be so bad. At least they don't require work experience, and they pay well. Only those talks were strange. Energy ghosts. Of course, that was nonsense. Ivan was baptized and laughed at the gravediggers when they began their mystical conversations. But there was a time when he doubted his beliefs. On that day, Uncle Sergey and Ivan had dug several graves in the new sector. They thought there was only a little work left, but then the shift manager called and said, "Guys, you need to dig up another one. Nikolai sprained his arm and Valera won't handle it alone." Sergey Ivanovich sighed. "That's it, Ivan. Now we'll be busy until midnight. But we'll earn more. Don't be sad, Uncle Sergey. Relax, drink some tea, and I'll work for the two of us." They started on the third grave when it was completely dark. Experienced Sergey was not afraid, but Ivan kept looking around and shuddered from the strong rustling of the trees. They had dug halfway when Ivan noticed a light in the distance. "Uncle Sergey, look, is something flickering there?" Sergey raised his head and took a closer look. "Yes, there is a light. The White Maiden is probably walking around again." "What White Maiden?" "It's a flashlight, Uncle Sergey. What if these are looters? Do you remember you told me you had a bandit buried last year? And then some thugs dug up his grave and wanted to take the gold." "Ivan, let the watchman do his job. If somebody is on site, he must have approved it. Let's get to the bottom faster. I want to go home." The cemetery had already closed an hour ago. The funeral had long since ended. Ivan shuddered. He didn't want to look like a coward. The guy crawled out of the grave and wandered towards the light. Quietly and stealthily, he reached an old willow tree, behind which there was a flickering light, and took a closer look. And then, he quickly ran to Uncle Sergey. "Some man is digging up a grave!" The gravedigger threw the shovel. After thinking a while, he picked it up again and followed Ivan. The guy told the truth. Trying not to be noticed, the man strived to dig a tunnel to the grave. He hid closer to the willow and was stubbornly swinging his shovel. Ivan crept up to him and raised his stool over his head. And then the marauder sensed their presence. He turned to the men, backing away from the raked pile of clay, and shouted, "Don't hit me, guys. I didn't come here to steal." Ivan lowered his shovel, looking at the man in surprise. He was a very old, pale man. How could he dig this hole? "Dude, why are you digging here? Are you preparing a place for yourself?" Sergey Ivanovich frowned. "I'm saving my wife. She's there, calling me, asking me to dig her up." The gravediggers looked at each other. Well, it was all clear. "Come on, Grandpa. We'll take you to the lodge and give you some tea. Let's call a doctor for you, okay?" "Why do I need a doctor?" The senior man became angry. "She needs a doctor. It's been a month since we buried her, and she's still there, alive. My poor Lyubushka, help. You have such big shovels. We can do it together quickly." The gravediggers looked at each other. Smiling at the senior man, they began to walk around him on both sides. The man quickly figured out their maneuver and shouted, "I'm not crazy. Not crazy. Sons, wait quietly for a minute. You'll hear it." Sergey Ivanovich smiled. Ivan looked into the man's pleading eyes and became silent. There was so much despair and pain in them. And then they heard a hoarse female voice. "Pavlusha, help me! Help! I'm suffocating, Pavlusha! Please get me out! I cannot breathe here!" Ivan's hair stood on end. He looked at the grave from under which the voice was coming. The senior man grabbed his shovel and rushed to the hole. "I am here, Lyubasha. Wait a little. The guys have come. They will help you." Ivan took his tool and began to dig. He was sweating like a pig, but did not feel either hot or tired. There was a living person underground. "Uncle Sergey," he said to his colleague, barely catching his breath. "We need to call an ambulance. I read about lethargic sleep. Poor old lady. Do you hear? She's calling again. Be patient," he shouted into the grave. We'll free you soon." The three of them quickly got to the coffin. As the most experienced, Sergei Ivanovich began to pick at the lid with a crowbar. "Lord, we shouldn't hurt her. Pull over to the left edge." The senior man was running around the coffin, not knowing what to do with impatience. When he saw the lid moving, he grabbed it and pulled it with all his might. He looked inside, gasped, and fell to the ground. Ivan didn't even bother to look at the contents. It was all clear by the smell. He ran up to the man and tried to bring him to life. Sergei Ivanovich spat gloomily, cursing himself. "Why the hell did I believe you? Voice. Do you understand what we have done? We, the Gravediggers, dug up the burial without the watchman's permission, broke the coffin, and all because of a crazy old fellow." "Uncle Sergei, you heard that voice yourself," Ivan exclaimed. "That was a white maiden. Don't you understand? Let's bury it quickly. If anyone sees it, we're dead. How's the grandpa?" "Fainted." "Wake him up. You know he's crazy. Maybe he won't remember this story. Come on, you take him home, and I'll put things in order." Uncle Sergei continued to wail, cursing the man, his nephew, himself, his sore back, and his blunt shovel. Meanwhile, Ivan brought the grandpa to his senses and shook off his old coat. "Where do you live? How did you get here?" "I came by taxi." Ivan looked into his transparent, watery eyes and felt acute pity. "Grandpa, do you have any relatives? Let me take you to them." "No, son, I'll go home." Ivan called a taxi, gave the address, and sat near the man. As they drove, the guy was watching him surreptitiously. Despite his dusty clothes and dirty hands, his new acquaintance looked neat. He wasn't hunched or inattentive to his appearance. He was clean-shaven and had short-cropped gray hair. Ivan wanted to talk to him, but the man turned to the window and did not notice anyone around. Ivan accompanied him to the apartment and went back to the cemetery. Since then, Ivan began to think that maybe those ghosts and spirits existed. After all, Uncle Sergei believed in them. Besides, he was a gravedigger for 8 years and saw a lot. Ivan put the icon in his wallet and didn't go to the cemetery without it. He no longer laughed, listening to stories about the White Maiden. Ivan often passed by the grave where they met the grandpa. One day, he was tired and leaned against the willow tree. That was when he noticed a strange thing. The grass that grew around in an even carpet had withered in one place. The guy bent down and petted the yellow leaves. He looked closer and noticed traces of a shovel. Someone dug a piece of dirt out in an even square and then returned it to its place. So, the grass withered. Ivan took a scoop out of his backpack and started throwing away the ground. There was a plastic bag with an old push-button mobile phone in a small hole. Why was it there? The young man was surprised. Who needed to bury that rarity in a bag under a willow tree? Having nothing else to do, he began to rummage through the phone's memory. He found not a single contact or message, but there were a few calls from a hidden number. Ivan began to look through the ringtones and frowned. There was one that interested him. Ivan turned it on and froze. A hoarse voice came from the speaker. "Pavlusha, help me. I'm suffocating, Pavlusha." Ivan said nothing to Uncle Sergei and immediately went to the grandpa. He knocked on the door. A young woman of about 30 opened it. "Is Grandpa Pavel at home?" "No, he is walking somewhere. Who are you?" Ivan was embarrassed. Not knowing what to answer, he said he would wait for him on the bench. The man was slowly walking towards the house. When he saw Ivan, he wanted to turn back, but the guy ran up to him and grabbed his hand. "Grandpa Pavel, stop. Look what I found in the cemetery." Ivan turned on the recording with a hoarse voice. "Someone is cheating on you. Someone called the phone that played this ringtone." Ivan saw the man's eyes fill with tears. "But I can hear Lyuba even at home. How can it be?" "Maybe you also have a phone hidden in your apartment. Come on, please show me where you hear the voice, and I'll look for the phone." The man thought and agreed. "Let's wait a bit. My daughter-in-law Natasha will leave and we'll start." Pavel Andreevich told Ivan he lived alone, but his children helped him. His son Alexander worked as a foreman in a car service, and Natasha was on maternity leave with her second girl. "Let's sit some more. Natasha comes to clean up my place while Nadyushka is in the nursery." They entered the apartment, and Pavel Andreevich led Ivan into the bedroom. "When I sleep, her voice wakes me up." "Is that truly her voice?" "Yes." "Well, let's look." Ivan decided and began to look around the room. There was a table, a wall, a bed, and a wardrobe. Everything was as usual. The wallpaper was old, which meant no one could hide the phone inside the wall. "Grandpa, I'll take over here, okay?" Ivan asked, kneeling in front of the old bed. He felt the mattress, pressing it with his hands. It was empty. He went through all the stacks of towels in the closet, the owner's stuff, and boxes of old trousers and jackets. They were all empty. He could find nothing. "Pavel Andreevich, when did you change the linoleum?" "A long time ago. We did it together with Lyubushka." Ivan found nothing. His failure only fueled his determination and curiosity. "Can I spend the night with you? Just don't think I'm a thief. I want to get to the bottom of it." The man took a folding bed out of the closet and gave the guy a blanket. Ivan made a large cup of coffee, went online, and prepared to stay up all night. Closer to 1 in the morning, Ivan heard a voice. "You don't love me anymore, Pavel? Save me. I don't want to die." The grandpa woke up and sat in his bed. Ivan began to walk around the room, listening to where the sound was coming from. He turned on the light and asked, "Do you have a screwdriver? We need to unscrew the baseboards and remove the linoleum." Ivan was busy for an hour. He peeled back the edge of the linoleum and saw that one of the plywood sheets was new. The guy unscrewed the screws, picked up the sheet with a screwdriver, shone a flashlight between the joists, and took out a plastic bag. There was an old telephone, and the ringtone was the same female voice. "It's all clear. That's why there is no dust under the baseboards. The one who put it there sometimes puts the phone on charge. Although, wait, there is a wire under the floor." Ivan reached between the boards and took out the charger. "And there's a socket. See it? Someone's done a fine job. Grandpa, who do you suspect?" Pavel Andreevich sat on the bed and turned away. His shoulders trembled, and Ivan realized the man was crying. "Someone wants you to go crazy. We need to report it to the police. We have so much evidence. I'll tell them I dug up the grave. They will only scold me, and that's it." But the grandpa shook his head. "You know who does this?" The guy guessed. "But who could—" "My son," the man answered. "What? He's completely gone crazy." Ivan was stunned. How could he make fun of his father? "I'll go and smash his face, and I'll take him to the police. Just tell me where he lives." Ivan jumped out of his chair. He was pacing around the room and gesturing desperately. The man looked at him and ordered, "Sit down, don't get mad. You are young and know nothing about life. You're not going anywhere. And give me the phone." "But how is that possible? Are you going to let him bully you?" The man's face hardened. "Ivan, you should forget about it and go home. I'll figure it out myself." "I'm not going anywhere." "Won't you leave? Then I'll call the police and tell them you're a thief. You said you were a gas worker. I opened the door, and you broke my floors to find some money. Go away, boy, until it's too late." Stunned, Ivan picked his sweater from the floor and backed away towards the corridor. The man was following him, and while the guy was lacing up his sneakers, he didn't say a word. He closed the door, and the guy went into the street and wandered home. He came to his senses when a speeding car almost hit him, immersed in his thoughts. "I cannot just leave. They are bullying the senior man. How can I do nothing? I need to find his son and smash his face. I'll tell him I know everything, and if he doesn't stop, I'll go to the police." He even found a database online and learned the grandpa's last name. There was also information about his children. Ivan entered his son's name in the search and found out where he lived. "Oh, I'll make you regret, Alexander Pavlovich Poluektov." Ivan got ready for his business. He put on a loose tracksuit and comfortable sneakers. In the evening, he went to the desired address. A man of impressive size, about 40 years old, opened the door. "Are you Alexander Poluektov?" Ivan asked. "Yes," the man answered calmly. And then the guy hit him in the face, but the man quickly grabbed his hand and attacked him back. "Hey, are you stupid or what?" he asked Ivan, fighting him off and trying to throw him to the ground. "I'm a sambo wrestler. I can beat you to pieces." That was not how Ivan imagined the fight. The guy wanted to be a hero. He intended to break that bastard's nose and mercifully let the scoundrel go with promises not to bully the grandpa again. But he was floundering on the floor, defeated by a big man who did not beat him up only out of pity. "Well, here you go. Lay still and tell me why you came here." The defeated guy sniffed his swollen nose proudly. "My friend knows about everything." Ivan decided to lie. "And if I don't come out in an hour, he's going to the police." The man sighed and let the guy go. We have 2 phones with those records, one from the cemetery and the second from the floor. These are evidence. And if something happens to Pavel Andreevich, my friend and I will go to the police and tell them that you are bullying him. I'll leave now, but I'll keep an eye on him so that I know that you didn't send him to a mental hospital. Ivan stepped towards the door, but the big guy caught him up. So, we go to the kitchen and you tell me everything. Is it clear? His steely voice sounded so determined that Ivan decided to obey. He sat down at the table and told Alexander everything he knew. The big man listened attentively without asking questions, took out his phone and dialed the number. "Dad, are you at home? Don't go anywhere, I'll come to you soon." Then the man stood up, took cigarettes out of his jacket, lit a cigarette right in the kitchen and said, "We are going to my father, and you will show me the records. Call your friend and let him come too. Make sure you don't lose the phones. The police will take direction when there is a new call." The man opened the freezer and gave Ivan a frozen chicken. "Put it on your nose so it doesn't swell too much. That's it. Put on your shoes. Let's go." They entered Pavel Andreevich's apartment and saw the man nailing the baseboards to the floor near the bed. "Dad, why didn't you tell me? Did you think it was me?" Ivan went into the kitchen, but he could hear snippets of conversation. Alexander was arguing. "Someone speaks to you in my mother's voice. You dig a grave in the cemetery and I don't know anything about it. You should have called me or Natasha right away." "I don't want to call you. I've bothered you enough with my needs. Natasha comes to clean my apartment. You take me to the doctor. Don't I understand that you're tired of me? I'm a problem. Who needs a week-old buffer?" Dad, what are you talking about?" the man asked confusedly. "Nobody thinks so. We love you. It is okay you feel bad. Everyone gets sick when they get older. Natasha and I will be the same. Dad, it's not us. I swear to you. We need to find this bastard and hand him to the cops, or I'll bury him in the cemetery myself." "I'll help you," Ivan interrupted, and immediately became embarrassed, realizing he was the odd one out. Ivan was drinking tea until Alexander called him. "Come on, you'll help me open the floors." They found other wires going to the old outlet. "Dad, can you give me the phones? I'll rummage through them." "I don't have them. I threw them away this morning." Ivan and Alexander rushed to the trash bin, but it was empty. The garbage truck that arrived at lunchtime took away all their evidence. "Damn, what should we do?" "I don't know," Alexander answered, "but thank you, Ivan. You didn't leave my old father in trouble. I owe you. If your car breaks down or there are any other problems, call me. I will help." "Okay, but the criminal won't stop. Maybe we should track down who is visiting your dad." "Well, I think no strangers come here, just me and Natasha." He suddenly turned pale and hurried into the apartment. "Dad, does Natasha come to you alone?" "Yeah, only once a neighbor walked in. Natasha's phone fell behind the closet and he helped her get it out. Alexander invited his father to stay with him until they found the criminal, but he refused. The man thanked Ivan again and went home. An awful suspicion crept into his mind. He didn't even want to think. At night, while Natasha was sleeping, he searched her purse and cosmetic bag. Maybe it was somehow not a man, as if he was paranoid and jealous, but Alexander thought like that. If he didn't find anything, he would breathe a sigh of relief and calm down. But it turned out differently. Rummaging through the stuff, the man found beautiful stockings and lace lingerie he had never seen before. They still had a price tag. Alexander cursed quietly. Where did Natasha get that money? Well, maybe she had a bonus at work, but the doubts did not go away. Alexander began to pay attention to things he preferred not to notice before. New perfume. A friend gave it to me. She didn't like the scent. "I'll stay at Lena's." Alexander drove through all the yards around Lena's house but never found his wife's car. He called Ivan. "Listen, I have something in mind. Can you help me?" A few days later, Alexander took his father supposedly to the doctor. In truth, he took Pavel Andreevich to Ivan. Then the man called a taxi and went to his father's home. He quietly entered the apartment and hid in the closet. He sat there and prayed his suspicions would not come true. But what he was afraid of happened. Someone inserted the key in the keyhole. The door opened and he heard the clicking of heels. The heels walked around the entire apartment and returned to the corridor. His wife's voice said, "Come in, there's nobody." There was the sound of male steps and then a voice. "I always wanted to try the grandpa's mattress." Then there was a fuss and his wife's voice. "Peter, not now. First things must come first." From the sounds, Alexander realized they were moving his father's bed. Or not moving. He jumped out of the closet. His wife and her lover froze in place when they saw Alexander. He rushed at the tall, carelessly combed man. "Don't hit him, Alexander. He's a pianist. He needs his hands." His wife's pleading voice brought him to his senses. He pointed them to the door. "Get out of here!" He squatted down, lit a cigarette, and called Ivan. "I'll arrive in half an hour to pick up my father." "Have you already found out who it is?" asked Ivan impatiently. "Yes, I have. Alexander stayed overnight with his father. He wanted to wait for a few days, fearing his anger. But in the morning, his wife came to him herself. Alexander, why didn't you come home? The girls miss you. Did you think about them when you got yourself a boyfriend? Tell me, what were you missing, huh? I lived for you, damn it. I bought you fur coats. I took you to the sea." His wife was silent. "Are you in love, right?" From his wife's eyes, he realized that he had hit the mark. "What did my father do to you? Are you tired of cleaning up after him?" His wife protested. "It's not about cleaning. He's just the same as you. He's only thinking about himself. There are 4 of us huddling in a 2-room apartment, and he lives alone in these 3 rooms. He could offer to change." Alexander barely restrained himself so as not to hit Natasha. "It's not your business. You could file for divorce since you love your boyfriend. I would move out. It would be more spacious for the 3 of you." His wife's eyes darted slyly. "Wait," Alexander thought out loud. "Or you didn't want to get a divorce? Who is your lover? You say a pianist? He's all clean and plays the piano, and I'm dirty and work with engine oil. But while your boyfriend is tickling the ivories, I'm earning good money." Alexander spent all night thinking about whether to make a police statement. He remembered his daughters and decided not to do it. They loved her so much. But how could he be such a fool? They lived together for 5 years. How did he not notice there was a toad nearby? And he was ashamed in front of his father since he was an adult man who came to live with him. But before that, he forced his wife to transfer his share to their daughters. "That's right, son. She won't get a penny from your efforts.